What's up guys, Perry from Rockville here, and today I'm going to show you how to set up your RCM03 to your interface. So for my recording setup today, I'm using our very own Rock-U Mini interface. I also have my Mac here, and I'm using the DAW GarageBand, but keep in mind you're going to follow these steps for whatever interface, computer, or DAW that you plan to use. So to connect my microphone to the interface, I'm gonna take the included XLR cable. I'm gonna plug this female end into the microphone. Then I'm gonna plug the other end into the XLR input on my interface. Now the Rock-U Mini only has one XLR input listed as channel 1. So keep in mind if you're using an interface that has more than one XLR input, you can use any of those inputs, but just make sure that you keep track of which channel goes to where. So you can follow these same steps and it doesn't matter if you plug it into input 2, input 3, input 1, totally up to you, but we're gonna also wanna keep that in mind for when we set up in our DAW, and we're gonna circle back to that in just a bit. So before we get to recording, we actually recommend double checking the sound settings of your computer and making sure that the input and output device is set to the interface you're using. So on my Mac, I'm gonna go into the system preferences, then I'm gonna go into the sound tab. So from here we have two windows for the input and output setting. So starting with the input window, we're gonna look for the device that reads Rock-U Mini so that we can select the interface to be used as our input device. Then we're gonna hop over to the output window and do the exact same thing. Look for the device that's called Rock-U Mini and click on it so that we use the Rock-U Mini as the output device. And we also recommend you do this for your DAW. So on GarageBand, I'm gonna go into the preferences window, go to the audio and MIDI settings, and then from there we have two tabs for the output device and the input device. And just like we did earlier, we're gonna set the Rock-U Mini as our input and output device. So on both these tabs, we can click on the drop down here. Then we're gonna look for the device that reads Rock-U Mini, and make sure you do that for both the input device and the output device. Now another thing to keep in mind is that condenser microphones like the RCM03 require phantom power in order to work. So on your interface, you should have a button or a switch to activate phantom power or plus 48 volts. On the Rock-U Mini, that switch is on the back, listed as plus 48 volts. So we're gonna wanna make sure to flip that to the on position. So the next thing we can do is go to our DAW and create a new audio track. We're then gonna look for this input section here and make sure that we're using the correct input. So again, because I'm using channel 1 on my interface, I'm gonna want to use input 1 here as my input. And again, keep this in mind in case you're using a different input on your interface. For example, if you have your microphone plugged into input 2, you're gonna wanna select input 2, etc. So once that's all taken care of, we can press create. Then we can raise the gain knob for our microphone. And after you set the gain, you'll see that the microphone is picking up signal through this meter here on our track. And this is actually something we want to pay attention to because we don't want the signal coming in too hot, so we can avoid distortion or clipping. So for example, the higher I raise the gain for channel 1, check 1, 2, check 1, 2, you'll see that we now get into the yellow/red area, and this will mean that our audio could clip or distort. So to avoid that, we either want to lower the gain for channel 1, and if that's not enough to lower the signal, most interfaces come with a pad button, which will lower the signal even more. So that's another way you can avoid getting into that clipping territory, and then from there you can use the gain knob to your liking. And once that's all set, we can get to recording. So this would be a great setup for recording vocals, podcasts, audiobooks, and much more. Now for you PC users out there, remember that we also have the XLR to 1/8" cable, so you can use that if you want to plug in your microphone to your computer or anything else that has an 1/8" mic input. And from there, you're gonna go into the sound settings for your computer and DAW. Make sure that you have the input and output device set to the appropriate settings. And you'll also follow the same steps when it comes to creating the track in your DAW. So hopefully this showed you guys how easy it is to set up your RCM03 to your interface. But of course, if you have any questions, comments, or concerns, feel free to reach out to our customer support team through phone or email. As always, I'm Perry from Rockville, and we'll see you guys next time.